Uh, I was a little wondering if I was gonna make it this morning. I ain't gonna lie. I woke up this morning and it took me 4 hours to get to where I could move.
Mm. Any
Man, I tell you,
any updates in that arena?
supposed to have surgery to fix it. October the 23rd. That was the earliest appointment I could get, unless somebody
Mm.
cancels. I'm going in the morning to do all of the pre-surgery blood work or whatever, and they're going to put me because I asked them. I was like, "Is there any way I can go sooner?" And they're like, "Look, it's not going to work out." But since I live close and I'm going to go ahead and do the blood work, they said that they could put me on the last minute cancellation list. And I told them I'm like 2 hours away, and I will get a ride up there if they will just call me. By the time they call me, I can be there within 2 hours. So
Well,
that's the plan. Is I'm gonna go ahead and get all that pre-surgery stuff done, and then if somebody cancels, 2 hours before their appointment, they're gonna call me and say, "Hey, if you can be here by 10, we'll do it." And that's what, because the sooner the better. I'm telling you, guys. Woo,
yeah. So
woo,
well,
it's
so
rough.
that's 2 weeks out, and then I don't know what the
Hmm.
recovery will be like, but
They said I probably won't be able to drive or do anything like that for 2 weeks, and then after that, they're saying hopefully, if all goes well, within 4 weeks, I'll be back to my old self again without all the pain. So
well,
if
let's
they could
hope
just
so.
get me without the pain, I'll at this point I'm good.
Yeah,
I mean, it is driving me nuts because I can't do anything. I hurt constantly. I've taken more pills than I've taken in my entire 48 years of living,
yeah.
just to try to keep up out of the floor in the fetal position, because that's where I end up if I forget to take my meds. So, but it's been a roller coaster. But other than that, I mean, I have learned a lot about Fusion 360 because the computer in the house. I got my laptop and I've got the 3D printer, and I've been playing with that thing a lot because I'll usually get an hour or two between when my medicines start wearing off and I'm able to take them again. I'll get an hour or two in between there to where I can sit and tinker and play. And I bought me a new chair out here. Of course, I showed that to y'all last week, but I've got me a new chair. It's got lumbar support, plenty of padding. It's not like my old wooden stool that I made. So hopefully, hopefully it'll be better. But we'll
Well,
see. Yeah, Jim. They're claiming the nature of mine. They're claiming there shouldn't be any long term effects. Now I'm sure they will probably make recommendations to powerlifting or anything. But I talked to the nurse, and she's saying that apparently I have something, a piece of something that is pressing against the nerve where it comes through my spinal cord. She don't know. She didn't specify what it was, whether it was a piece of the disc or what, but I suspect that's probably what it is. But we'll see.
we'll be hoping for the best on that, and like I said, get you back to pain free so you can get on doing at least
Yeah.
most everything. Maybe, but yeah. Well, hopefully that's the rest of our doom and gloom for this stream. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know I've been worried about you, and hoping you get some relief and get get things happen in the shop and whatnot. But and yeah, busy season coming up with holidays. I mean, even outside of side hustle stuff, it gets busy with family and events and such. So
Yeah. Well, they had
hopefully
a, they
that
had
two
an
weeks is hopefully that 2 weeks is realistic.
yeah, they had an event last night in Clanton that I normally participate in. Of course, I sat at home and watched all my buddies up there doing their lives and their walkthroughs and stuff because it's just stuff like that's not in my it's not in my list of things I can do right now. Uh, you know, I can't drive because of the medication,
Yeah,
so I'm just kind of stuck.
yeah.
It's terrible, guys. It's terrible. Like I said, I have been able to play with 3D printing, and I can come. I've been able to come out here for an hour or two at a time and do stuff. And I put that video together about my little camera. Uh, but I come out, I do a little bit of work, and then I go lay on the floor, get my fetal position, and position my leg just right. Lay there for an hour or two, take a nap in the floor, and then I come back out and do some more. So it's a hoot, guys. It is a hoot. So
Well, I've been a little busy in the shop in a few various ways. Kind of gearing up. I got the event coming up this next Saturday up here in the Twin Cities area, Minnesota. So that's the big woodworking expo put on the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild. So I've been trying to get things prepped as far as what can I take and is all my equipment ready? What are some examples of things I can bring so that I can, I'm not going to be able to just flat out do full on projects up there, the whole thing, but I'm hoping to be able to, have a machine running and doing some engraving, doing some cutting. Planning on bringing at least probably be bringing my enclosure setup, the one I built, then that fits the X Tool D1 Pro 20 watt really well. And then I'm going to bring that little F1. And then I think we've got a little surprise, maybe a sneak preview of a future video, something my friend and I have been working on as far as a kind of a custom tumbler jig and such. And yeah, we'll see what else fits. I have the opportunity to go up Friday and set up early. It's about an hour away, so I might do that because that's going to mean I don't have to get up quite so early on Saturday to get up there and do it. But yeah.
So does that mean there's going to be a Ventari's workshop, like meet and greet Friday night? Is that what that means?
No, because I'll be needing to get back and I got to collect my friend in the morning, bring anything else up, and I got to be there early.
Oh, you're
And
going to
like I say,
commute.
it's an hour.
I
Yeah, no,
got you.
I'm not staying up there. Like I
I
said,
got you.
it's only about an hour away. It's pretty close. And it might be worthwhile to just I can go up there, kind of set things up a bit, and then shuffle things around a little bit. And if I need to, I can come back and grab a few other things or swap things out. So we'll see. I still got to work at least Friday morning, but I might take the afternoon off and do that. So I don't know where I'll be. It's in a big hall. They haven't really given us any like location assignments in there. I do have a fabric banner coming Tuesday, I hope. So I should be able to put that on display there to help kind of draw people in and whatnot. And yeah, they said they'll get me rigged up with I don't think I'm going to have to share a circuit with anyone. I just told them, I said, I don't need a lot of power. I just don't want it to get interrupted, a bunch of people plugging in and whatnot. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of, I've been doing that. And along with that, I've been putting out a few extra videos that have been kind of in the works for a little bit, trying to do some more of my project ones. And people seem to, I released that box one. We talked about that a little bit last week, and people seem to really enjoy that and picking up the files and having fun with them. So that's gone well. And I'm hoping to do more of that over this fall. Like you and I've talked, we're trying to scale back some of the equipment stuff so much and get back into tutorials and projects and such. And that's been kind of fun, but mixed with everything else going on too. I have too many ideas, and sometimes my brain starts, like I'm prepping for one, I'm working on the other, so that I'm waiting, and you get a little too many going on at once, you start losing a little focus. So, but
Yeah. It's hey, I've got so much time on my hands now, but I just can't do it. That's my problem. Appreciate you, Jeremy. Hey, I know me and Steve both, we kind of share goals as far as what we do and what our channels are about, and so hearing that is a good thing. And it starts off slow when you start trying to make money doing this, especially depending on your area and how well versed at marketing you are. The better you get at marketing, the more money you'll make. And so if you want to learn about anything right starting out, study marketing and how to get your products out there. That will benefit you more than even more than increasing your productivity. Marketing will generate more revenue for you. So
and
that's my advice for today on
and
that.
I'm going to plug one of our, and I think he's out there, Steve from Hobo with Wood. He released a nice video earlier this morning on how it's a little long, but it's a lot of good information on how to price your products and how to be successful in your business by pricing products. A lot of good information in that video. And so I would strongly encourage people to go watch that if you're trying to figure out how to price things and don't want to find yourself, it's easy to get excited about sales until you start doing the math and going, how did I still lose money? Well, he's got some good tips in his video for that to kind of help make sure you're pricing things right and you're being successful. So, but yeah, do study marketing and, keep grinding at it. You never know what will stick, and what works in one community doesn't necessarily work in another. So,
Yeah.
take ideas from people, make it your own, but don't get discouraged when you're not seeing success just on that one thing that they had success on. Sometimes just a different community has just different ideas of what's hot for the time, and a little perseverance gets through it. But
Yeah. Well, Jasper, glad to see you got it downloaded. Like I said, I wouldn't try to be short with you, but I was doing everything on my phone. Uh, I have been spending a lot of time laying on my back with an ice pack and stuff lately, so I couldn't really get on the computer and like send you links and all that. So I appreciate you. Glad you got that. Glad you got that taken care of. Uh, Brian said he wants to see a LED strip light from scraps.
yeah, I know. I gotta, I
Hasn't
even
he asked for that a couple of times
he
already?
has, and I bought. So here's the thing with me. I always tend to overthink stuff. So
Oh,
I was trying to come up with the way to do that if you're comfortable with a soldering gun or a soldering iron. But then I was also trying to look for parts through Amazon to say, okay, if you're not comfortable with, here's the things to buy, and here's how to do it without that. And so I got to pull the two together and then sit down with the project and do it. So yes, I got a little whiteboard of project ideas. It's still on there. And I think maybe what I need to do is just do another engraved mirror project or something like that, and include it as that. So
yeah, you could do like multiple phases. You could do the mirror, and then you could do the strip lights to go
yeah,
with the mirror,
yeah,
and just kind of
yeah,
like run it all together.
yeah, I could, yeah, do the one project, make a couple videos out of it or something. So,
Yeah.
but besides that, I also, I think you were trying to get me to tease it last week, but I didn't. I wasn't quite ready to. But I do have a new 3D printer in the shop, and I had just gotten it just before the last week, and so I didn't know what to think of it yet. I'd had some early successes, but I always kind of hedge my bets and make sure that those weren't flukes. And I have been enjoying it, and I've got some more filament to test of different types. So I've been starting out with just the basic PLA, and that's been going really well. And so now I'm going to be doing some PETG and ABS for some more durable type filaments, get those tested out and whatnot. But I'm trying to also do things, a mixture of everybody gets these and they'll print out little tchotchkes and such just for fun to kind of figure it out. But I'm also trying to approach it from, more of our core audience. How would this be useful to a general maker, a crafter, or people, especially that, are working with lasers. So I'm going to mix a little bit of that in there, but this will definitely be something I'm having fun with, and I'll get a couple videos out on that here, probably within a few weeks. So that's also been keeping up my time. It's not an acre. It's not a bamboo. It's actually a Cheedy X+3, and they kind of had a little rocky start with this one. I watched a couple other videos on it when it was presented to me, and I was like, I don't know. But apparently, in this company they're not new to the game. They've done a number of things before. They actually pulled the printer off production and said, "Give us a few months." And then they fixed a bunch of things from feedback, and they sent new ones out. And from my trials with it so far, I'm actually very impressed. I've had a couple of issues with it that were primarily my own. And it's not perfect by any means, but I would say it's similar to the bamboo and the newer Anchor M5, but different and cheaper than bamboo, but a little bit nicer than the Anchor because it is fully enclosed and such. So yeah, that's been fun. We'll have some more about that in the future, but I also really have been enjoying just playing around with some projects on my lasers. So
Well, I sent you a really cool file that
I
you
saw that.
can use. You said you have one of the cameras. It's similar camera
So
anyway. So
yeah, so the camera I've got is actually it's a test one to see if it will work in my enclosure without extending it taller. So when I designed that enclosure, I was thinking I want as compact an enclosure that will work inside in my basement without taking up a ton of space. So I really kind of went to what's the minimum space I need inside of it. And then afterwards, other things like the extensions and the cameras became really, really popular in demand. And so it doesn't necessarily fit those very well, but natively, but I've found an ultra wide angle fisheye USB camera that I'm going to see if I can make work. If I can I'm actually going to mount it on the top side and then drill a hole through the top so that the lens just barely sits through the enclosure to give me the most, you know, distance from the honeycomb with it closed, and we'll see if it'll work. But
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I've seen a couple of the prints you did, and so far they look like they're doing really, really well. Which, like I said, I've got limited experience with 3D printers. Uh, I'm using the one that I've got, and that's about it. How the filter? Oh well, this is one of the early ones. So this one's like really, really tight, but there's a groove in here. But this is the last version. This was my final version before I released it. So basically, there's a notch that's in this little piece here, and you just slide it out. And then when you take your little 3mm acrylic, get it lined back up, and you slide it in. So like when the camera's sitting in there, it would be like this. If you needed to clean this, and you just pull this out, clean it, and then you can take and drop it back in there. So the first couple that I did it exactly 3mm on Fusion 360, and it didn't dictate well when I printed it. So these are really tight. Like this one is in there. I'm not even trying to take it off because it'll break them. It'll break the mount. That was I printed two. I printed one, which was my prototype. It was terrible. Had a lot of problems. So I went back, redid some stuff in Fusion, and then printed these. These worked, but getting the glass in and out was just kind of a pain. So that's when I went back and redid just this part. I had to redo it, and now it's made to where it slides out. You line it back up, it slides back in. It's that simple. So the trick is you've got to have a way to cut the 3mm orange translucent acrylic. It doesn't have to be the laser safe, but it definitely needs to be translucent where you can see through it. This I believe is laser safe. The piece extra that I had, but it just slides in and slides out. This piece here, I didn't make it in one piece because I didn't know that if you're using his light burn camera, you really don't need that. If you're using his observation camera, you do. So basically, you take some CA glue, put it on here, slap it together, hit it with a little activator, and boom, it's there, and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's how that's made. And then the back it's just kind of got these little teats that hold it together, like I showed in the video. But yeah, I think it's a pretty decent design. I haven't seen anything else like it out there. And the cameras are $60 a piece. And with the mount that I've made, you can 3D print yourself 4 or 5 of them, and you can have observation cameras as well as overheads. So it's pretty neat. And I sent Steve the file for some testing. He said he needed some files to test with the printer with, and so I sent him the file so that he can test his printer as well as he'll have himself a mount for the camera that he's wanting to try. So 2 birds, 1 stone.
yeah, well, I'll definitely print it out and give it a test, especially since I've got that camera. But that probably won't. I don't have high hopes for this camera working in my enclosure. I kind of was holding it in approximate place, and I'm like, it'll probably work to use 85% of the bed, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough for the whole thing. But it, like I said, my enclosure is too tight. But as I build another one, definitely that's gonna work out well. But yeah, it's a rabbit hole. You start working with these machines, and all of a sudden, 3D printers sound exciting, and you know,
Yeah, because we both said, hey, we're not taking anything for review unless it's something really, really awesome. And then they start wanting to send us awesome stuff, and it's like, wow. So, but I have turned down some stuff because I'm trying to get back to the make it side of things instead of the machinery electronic side of things.
Brian, the field of view on the camera that I ordered is 160 degrees, so it's pretty wide, and you get up close, it's going to be a little funny looking, but we'll see. Like I said, I gotta get it. I'm gonna wait until after this show this next Sunday because, like I say, I'm gonna have to drill a hole in my enclosure to test it out, and I don't want an ugly hole in my enclosure at the show if I don't have a camera in there, and so I'll wait till I get it, bring it back. But yeah, if it works, that'd be nice because then I can tell people this is what you got to do and without extending it. But I should probably also look at making that one taller and then also figuring out my extended enclosure because a lot of people want those and want to know how to build them.
Well, I will say this, Steve. You could build yourself like a little dome, 3D print yourself a little dome and mount the camera in the top of it to add about 6 inches of height. So,
Yeah, that I don't I don't know. Now, one interesting thing is I did have an individual who had bought my plans, sent me a message via Etsy, and he's like, "Hey, I designed up a little kickstand for your lid, um, and wondering if you wanted to try it out." And then even just he was willing to give it out to anyone who had built my enclosure wanted a little stand, and it's kind of nice. It just sits on the top, and then as you fold the lid back, it just folds out and then props the lid up kind of at a 10-15 degree angle towards the back, and makes it so it doesn't have to flip all the way over. Now I haven't had too much of a problem with that because usually mine is up towards the wall, so it just leans on the wall, but this actually works pretty well when it's not against something there. So but yeah, and that was real handy. Print it out on the 3D printer real quick. So, and that's the thing about this one, this is a fast printer that compared to my other two, my enders back here that I've had for a while, they've been great, but this one blows them away in speed.
yeah, I'm kind of hoping those guys, maybe they're scrolling through Facebook and they happen or YouTube and they happen to notice the Clack Shack, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Creality sent me an email wanting me to take a Creality Falcon, which I've already done a review on. So I let them know I've already done a review on a Creality Falcon, but I have not done a review on the K1.
Yeah,
So we'll see how that goes.
that would definitely be a nice printer option as well. But
Yeah. And I didn't
so
even get greedy. I thought I'm the regular K1, not the K1 Max.
yeah, yeah. Well, some of them that that build area pushing like 300 millimeters cubed sounds nice until you see the case that it comes in and practically a pallet that it has to be shipped on. Those things get pretty large, and yeah, it's I mean, even this one I was kind of like it was almost a team lift kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah, Steve's videos are pretty thorough. He was talking about Hobo's videos being long, Steve says the same thing about my videos,
it's
Hobo. So don't pay him any. Never mind. He called me one day and was like, "Yeah, I've been editing this video, man, but it's just way too long. It's like 35 minutes." And I'm like, "Dude, my videos are average 40 to 45 minutes. What are you trying to say?" He's like, "Yeah,
uh,
so." And I
uh
know I've been told countless times that I talk too much, and I really don't care. If people think that's why they make that swipe thing where you can just swipe to the next video. But yeah, Hobo, don't let him give you a hard time. He tries to keep his inside this little window. Uh, I just talk till I get tired of talking.
well, after a while, I mean, if it's good information, but sometimes I even watch, as I'm editing, I'm going, wow, I was rambling there. I can trim this down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do cut out a lot of my stuff because I know sometimes I repeat myself, and sometimes go down a rabbit hole about something that has nothing to do with the video. And I try to cut some of that out, but at the same time, I don't want to over edit my videos because I do want people to, know who I am. So, but yeah, it's a wild world when you guys when you start trying to edit these videos, and we're trying to make videos that you guys are going to actually watch and not just like exit out of. there's a lot of variables. You know what I mean? Because some people like this, some people don't, blah blah. But for the most part, I can honestly say that me and Steve pretty much do what we feel like we would want to watch, and that's what we put out. So it may not always be what everybody wants to watch, but
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I find that maybe I cut too much out because they're, you know, what might seem like basic information or covering in too much detail. Others are like, "Oh man, I wish you would have included." Like on I had a comment left on my, I think it was on the Comgrow camera, or no, maybe it was the Atom Stack one. They said, "Well, you left out a crucial piece, and that was running the cable." And I was like, "Well, there's only one way to do it, and it's to follow the post." But I mean, I just told him, I said, fair enough, but it's pretty simple. You just kind of follow the arm down, and I don't know how to not say that
zip
in a way of like,
yeah,
just
zip ties or Velcro, baby, zip ties or
yeah.
Velcro.
So and that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, I know a lot of people just want to like, okay, how do I get it set up in the software, and how well does it work? They don't necessarily want to see the whole build, but live
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah, Hobo. I don't know. They haven't responded to my email yet. I'm not against another Creality Falcon, but I don't have a need for it. Klein's got the other one in his shop, and he likes it, but he don't need another one. The K1 is something that I would be interested in, and I would use. But for what I'm using it for, doing little small stuff like this, the Ender 3 Neo that I've upgraded, it works great. I'm loving it. That direct extrusion, I did change my filament over to black, which is the first time I've changed filament since I got it. Having that a direct extruder to where there's only like that much filament between the hot end and the top, I just clipped it off, you know, pulled it down with the extruder, stuck the other in there, let it go until I got the new color coming out, and wham, I was back in business. That was a lot easier, I feel like, than if I'd have kept the original extruder. I think it would have been a lot more of a hassle to turn to change the filament. Well, Jim, I can't promise you some of mine don't get drug out. It won't be fluff necessarily. It might be me talking too much. I try not to put a whole lot of fluff in mine.
Yeah, well, I try to mix it up between explaining what's going on and showing what's going on. So that's where if I feel like I've been talking for a few minutes in the video, I'm like, oh, okay, we better mix this up with that, something new. So it was interesting. I was actually, and as you mentioned getting into marketing when trying to start your business for lasers or makers or whatever. Well, when you're talking about YouTube, you can get into a lot of interesting facts and features, and some of it is how do you hold an audience's attention. And I heard a statement or one time that said basically humans they'll lose their interest within 7 seconds. And so you almost have to like change things up that quickly, just kind of as a little, and sometimes it's just a cut, different view angle. So you'll see a lot of people that have the multiple camera angles, or they might crop in or crop out, or they, change to a cut scene, some B-roll. And a lot of that is to try to keep your brain, engaged rather than, here's the talking head that's been the same for 2 minutes. But
Yeah.
interesting
Well,
things to learn as you're trying to work through it.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I'm glad that that got you. I guess you're talking about the rotary switch. I think that's what we were discussing last week. So glad you got that working. And yes, the P20 extended is massive. I've got the P20 as well as the V35 extended, and those are my big machines for go-to on stuff like that. Norbert squirreled on us. But yeah, like I said, I'm not, and I watch a lot of other YouTube channels, and I know, guys, I don't put on wigs or, dance or.
Oh, that's your natural hair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't put on wigs. I don't dance. I don't like jump up on the mic a whole lot or jump up on the camera a whole lot. I'm not very animated. So I do appreciate the fact that people actually enjoy just sitting and watching me talk instead of me having to try to get up and perform like I'm
Well,
some type of circus star, so circus performer or something.
yeah, and for me too is when because I watch a lot of different channels as well, and so as long as they're kind of keeping things moving, and are authentic and genuine. I mean, one thing about your videos is you definitely feel like I'm in Clack's shop hanging out with him, and he's basically just walking through a project with me, and
Yeah,
and that's got a cool vibe to it versus an
yeah,
overproduced multi-angle stuff. And I kind of try to land a little bit in the middle of that just because of some of the style and the editing and the stuff I do, but I still try to keep it like, hey, this is me in my workshop and we're going to do a project, or I'm going to show you how this works and such. So
yeah.
um you're right. I think we tend to create towards what we would want to watch, but
Yeah, like I said, that's I'm the only person that like proofs my videos. So
yeah, I
if
try
I
to
think it's a good video, it gets put out.
I,
So
I try to make sure to do that after you've spent so much time editing. You're kind of like, oh, do I need to now go back through and watch this 30-40 minutes again, or
yeah,
which is good because there's been times I've uploaded on YouTube and went, oh, oops, let's fix
yeah,
that quick. So
yeah. It definitely like when you're editing and stuff like that, it's just like, okay, are they going to watch this? Are they not? Blah blah blah. But like I said, I am my only approval process. I don't have like a board of people that approve my videos. If it makes it past me, guys, y'all have to suffer through it. That's just all there is to it. But Brian, bro, I got to give it to you there.
oh, we got a double.
Got a double whammy. I don't wear wigs very often.
Hey, David, P20 at 50% off. That sounds like a great deal. And
Hmm.
so hopefully you'll enjoy it. I know we both have gotten some good use out of ours. They've been tanks in our shops and whatnot. So I think that's a great laser. And hopefully it works out well for you. I know Amazon is having their, what are they calling it? Their Prime Day deals this week for things. So I'll be keeping an eye on, are there things out there that I think are really good deals? I try not to like be too salesy, but when I see good deals on things, I like to try to share them with people. So hopefully that doesn't come across as too pushy, but more of just like helping people find, if you've been looking for something, here's a good shot at it. So as I see those this week, I'll post them at least on my Facebook page, and if they're really great, I'll try to put them in the Facebook group as well. But there again, I don't want to be too. I try not to encourage the linking for linking's sake, unless it's just a really good, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to overdo the salesy stuff.
No,
I agree with you on that. I try not to be too pushy with it. Uh, I had somebody ask me the other day, why don't I do what do you call it, the members only? What?
oh, like the Patreon thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like I told them. I mean, I like people. If people want to give me money, there are ways. You can purchase stuff from my Etsy shop. You can give me a super thanks. You can do all of these things.
you can leave a
They can
bag of
get
small unmarked bills at the corner of the.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways you can give me money if you want to support the channel.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I should hold certain things hostage from
yeah.
people.
I
Now, if I had a bunch of freebies to give away or something, maybe, but that's just not how. I just don't see me doing that right now.
for me, I think if I get to the point where this is going to take over my full-time employment and income, and I would have the time to dedicate to putting out extra special content for them, I'd feel like that would be then worthwhile for the people who want to do that support. Um,
Yeah,
right now, I appreciate that the ways people can support me cost them nothing, right?
yeah,
I mean, they can buy the files on Etsy and that costs them something, but they're getting something that hopefully they can find good, useful. But yeah, just by watching the videos, by if you're shopping for stuff anyway, using our links is always a great way to support us, and just sharing out the information. That's huge support for us right now. And I would feel bad spinning up a Patreon and taking people's money and not giving them something worthwhile for that extra money. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen a number of people do bloopers, and that can go well. But then you got to make bloopers.
Oh, Brian, you talking about putting it on my Amazon shop with me, Amazon page or whatever? Yeah. Oh, I guess I need to do that. Oh, I'll try to remember to do that. But I've got links to that camera in the video, but I forget that some people actually like bookmark our Amazon shops and stuff. So I need to go in there and add that to my stuff. I guess that's what you're talking about. My Amazon shop with the Clack Shack.
Yeah, I need to review mine as well and get things
Yeah, I
out
need
there.
to go in there. That's something I appreciate it, Brian, because that's something I can work on this week while I'm stuck in the house. I'll go through there and update my recommended products or whatever because I haven't messed with that in a while. But I appreciate that, Brian. You're gonna keep me from getting bored.
Yeah,
Oh,
I even tried to use it today.
oh, did you?
Well, I did buy a couple things on Amazon. I was like, well, I'm going to go visit Clack's page first, try to click on something, see if he gets credit for it.
Yeah. That's what I do that too. But I don't know if it works for you
Yeah,
because
it's hard to say.
we both have business accounts. So I don't
Yeah.
know if a business account if they I don't know.
Well,
It'd be nice if they did because I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon.
if I ever buy anything big, I'll hit you up and say, hey, send me your affiliate link for this.
Yeah. Uh,
But
yeah, Brian. Well, I appreciate it, and I know Steve does too because we talk about this a lot. That does, it's not a lot depending on what you're buying, but it does add up, especially if like 100 of you guys do it. So we definitely appreciate that. No doubt about it. What up, Super Duty? My meds are finally kicking in, guys. Woo! I took them like 30 minutes before the live started, so that I'd hopefully during the live would be kind of my peak
nice.
times. So if I start dancing or anything like that, y'all just it's the
Well,
medication.
if you
It
start
ain't me.
dancing, I'm gonna switch. Oh, whoop, not that way. Messing up the thing. You're on the wrong way. Chris,
Oh.
yeah. So Chris is asking me if I found out if it was real marble, and so that's referring to a video I posted yesterday on. There were these acacia / marble cutting boards that I found when I was shopping at Aldi, and if you don't have an Aldi near you, they always have this aisle of kind of just not even seasonal. It's just random stuff. I mean, somewhat seasonal, but you never know what's going to be there, and you never know how long it's going to be there. And they had these cheese boards that were labeled as acacia / marble, and they kind of had this diagonal through them. I thought, hey, they were only like, I think they were marked down to $10 when I was there, and I thought, hey, this would be a good way to test it out. Now they are from China, so hard to say is it true marble or not, but uh, if it was more of like a manufactured resin type product, I would think it would have melted a little bit differently. This was really ablating, and there is there is fine dust of like sand like dust all over my laser enclosure now and on my workbench where I was cleaning it off. So I got to feel it's, even if it's synthetic, it's made up of actual sandy like material. But either way, it was an interesting test to run on a product that you just find out while you're out shopping, and that's something I do a lot. Is we go to the craft store or any store that has some of those items in it that might be unique or whatnot, that I look at it and go, either can I recreate it myself with my own spin on it, or is it something that I can pick up and customize into some gifts? The thing is, you got to be careful that these are, you might have something that sells really well, and all of a sudden, well, that was a seasonal item. I'll never see that again. So you got to be careful in marketing that you don't, overpromise what you can get out of it. But it can be some interesting one-offs, especially for gifts or just some short-term customized things. So, but yeah, you gotta keep your eyes open for some of those things, because every so often you'll see a really good deal on some stuff. You can throw it through your laser and up its value by $20-$30, and and have some nice gifts or some things to add to your sales table.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, about every time I go to Tractor Supply or anywhere, I go find where the sale aisle is, because you get those little $4 or $5 things that you can do a little laser engraving and make something creative.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to do, especially like Michael's and Hobby Lobby and places like that. I hunt for the sale aisle, which I haven't been anywhere except for doctor's office in like 3 weeks now. So,
Well, I
but
don't know that you want to customize, engrave anything from there. So,
yeah. Well, Super Duty, it is actually doing pretty well. As you can see, it has lumbar support. It rotates, and I have found out too today while I was out here working that I can actually go from here to the laser. I can like do stuff in the laser, and then I can go back over here, and I don't have to get up and walk. So it actually allows me to it actually allows me to do a little something without having to get up and down.
I'm telling
I
you
was
that
I was rolling all the way down to the Monport earlier today to cut these little, because I was cutting these pieces of acrylic. So I rolled my butt all the way down there and then just kind of come back. If it ever turns out that I have to stay in this chair permanently, I'm going to install, like, you know how when you go to a bar they have that 2-inch pipe. I'm just going to install me a 2-inch pipe so I can just shuffle.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I sent you that link for those rollerblade casters that go right on those chairs. You'd
Yeah.
you'd love them, especially for rolling around like that in your shop. They're, I mean, I've got them on this chair in just my normal office. I
Yeah.
like them. So
Well, I may have to look into that if this turns into a long term thing, because it does help not having to get up and down out of this chair. But this thing's got like, shoot, I think it's got like, it's memory foam or whatever in the bottom of it. I mean, it wasn't the cheapest chair on Amazon, but it wasn't the most expensive either. But I had to get one that was big enough for my rear end because I'm kind of wide. So I couldn't get some of those chairs. When you look at the dimensions, it's like 16 inches wide, and I took this ruler right here and measured what I was trying to put on it, and it's wider than 16 inches. So I couldn't have a 16-inch seat when I got a 18-inch booty. But it's working out so good so far. Hobo, yeah, Hobby Lobby. That's one of the few places that I will go when my wife says she's going to Hobby Lobby. I used to wouldn't go with her, now I will. Yeah, that's right, on wheels now, Super Duty on wheels.
Steve, we've got a Hobby Lobby in town, but it's right next to the Harbor Freight, so usually angling that way. But
Yeah. Uh, Norbert's asking, has anyone done a memorial piece? Been asked to do a part engraved, names, dates, had a few parts. Yes, Norbert, I have actually engraved, I have made urn holders with engravings on them. They wanted me to engrave the urn, but I refused because I was afraid I'd mess it up. And I didn't have one to test. So I told them I'd rather just build an urn holder. I have also done plaques with photos engraved on the plaques, and took a audio file that was left as a voicemail right before the person passed, and uploaded that audio file to a web page and created a QR code so that when you walked up to the picture and looked at it, you could scan the QR code and it would play that voicemail. That was the last voicemail that the person left to his family or whatever. So that was pretty neat. That one was a real tearjerker when they got that one, because you could, like I said, it was interactive, because you're looking at the 3D picture, because I did a really deep burn and then sanded it to kind of make it look like it was a CNC almost. And then it had the QR code on there as well that would play the audio file. So that was pretty neat. And I did a couple of other just plaques where, somebody that had passed and put like maybe their favorite poem or favorite, lyrics or whatever on there. I've done a bunch of those. Not many of those were done as content, because there's some things that I just, I don't do content with everything that I do. Somebody asked me about or mentioned putting money down on the We Create earlier too. I will tell y'all, I didn't do a video on it, but I had a buddy of mine hit me up last minute needing some tumblers done a couple of days ago. And since I already had it out here, already had everything I needed, we knocked out 5 black tumblers on it. And guys, for tumblers, it works great. Now I didn't have the power settings, and he didn't bring me a extra tumbler, so it was a little bit of guesswork in the beginning. The first one was not great, but the power settings once I got a good guess on those, it done a really good job. So
Let me see if I can do this quick. I Yeah, there.
oh, that's it.
So this is I need to see if I got better photos, but this is actually the urn I made for my mother. And what you can't see up on top is there's an engraving up there, and it's of a pine tree sketch that she did. And I had found that in a stack of her papers, and actually used that to make some ornaments for all the grandkids and such. But then also included it on there. So I just scanned it in, and I cleaned it up because it was done on like notepad paper with lines, but I was able to just grab just the pine tree out of it, and so
Cool.
then engraved that on top. But so yeah, that this is the only kind of memorial type thing that I've had to do, and of course it was for my mother, which was an honor for me to do, but it's also, there's a lot of heart and soul into that. So but yeah, I don't know that I would want to, in this case, I had full control over it. I built the whole thing from a bunch of raw material from here in Minnesota. I'd be I would much rather do a piece that it's going to be attached to a memorial or make a holder for the memorial than to change the actual piece that I might not have control over. So
Yeah. Well, the one they brought over here for me was it was almost like a ceramic porcelain type urn. And I was like, no, I'm not. Because it was like, this is like literally 2 days before the they were supposed to have I guess, funeral or whatever. And they wanted me to do it. And I was like, I just can't. I'm not going to take a chance on messing this urn up 2 days before the funeral. Can't get another one.
yeah,
And they're like, well, what do you think we need to do? And so I finally talked them into letting me do almost like a book holder type thing. And then I cut a hole in this one to kind of set the urn in, made it a little tall, and engraved the back behind the urn. And when it was all said and done, they loved it. But I was not going to engrave on that $200 urn that I couldn't replace. And that just wasn't going to happen. If I'd have had 3 or 4 of them to practice with, but not with just
Yep.
one. But yeah,
Yep.
that was interesting. Yeah, Victor, Brian, you missed it. You're gonna have to go back and watch the replay. but uh, but yeah, let's see. Yep, everybody likes your thing there.
I
Well,
was trying to find more. I'm trying to find more photos that displayed it better. But yeah, it was. It was a fun. I shouldn't say fun. It was a good project to do, and the price of urns, oh my God, what they ask you for those versus what you get. I was
yeah,
more than happy to do it from that standpoint. So
yeah. Uh, woo, Mo back talking to me, guys. Well, I will be hopefully if all works out this week, and if I get to where I can, because nowadays, who knows? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. This is what I have been summoned to design and build for my wife. That right there. So I have to build a burn pattern, a cut pattern for tiny doors to be decorated as Christmas ornaments for my wife. I don't understand the significance of the doors. I don't ask questions, guys. I just make what she asked for. But hopefully, sometime this week, there'll be a video. I'll bring you guys along, do like a live creative type video like I did the other day, and we'll be making that file. So if you're
fun.
interested in that, if that's something that anybody might be interested in, it doesn't look like it's going to be that complex of a file. So
Yeah, what was that? Maybe 3 layers that you got to work with there.
yeah, it's gonna be it's and I think I can cheat and just resize the pieces, make it one file and resize the pieces so they'll overlap enough to glue.
Hmm.
That's kind of the plan anyway. Is to lay it out like a door, but then just resize them so that the door is slightly larger than the door jam and then just be able to glue it together, but just do one file and then break it apart. So we'll see. We'll see how it comes out. But I'll probably throw a live up if I'm not just suffering. I'll probably try to throw a live up and bring you guys along, so I can at least have some content, because I'm trying not to completely kill my YouTube channel through this whole back pain thing I got going on.
Well, hopefully that works out, because it's always, I think that's kind of fun, and hopefully people enjoy that too, is seeing kind of the live development process. I always kind of think about that when I'm working through a project is, oh, I should have like turned on the screen capture so I can at least, fast forward through and kind of voice over the design stuff. Because, a lot of the times, sometimes I'm just like winging it, trying to figure it out. So, when I purposely do something, I'll try to record it, but sometimes it's the afterthought of, well, I should have, could have, would have, should have.
Yeah, well, I was a little surprised at how many people actually watched the live where I did the bamboo cutting boards the other day. And guys, that was simply a way to try to let YouTube know that my channel still existed without having to sit down and edit and all that. And it actually was pretty well received. So I figure I'd try to do some more of that and see how it goes. I don't know, Chris. What if you don't have a chimney? I guess he uses the door, because we don't have a chimney. So maybe that's the whole idea.
Yeah, chimneys are becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah.
So,
Bill saying something about a V35. I'm trying to read it.
Yeah, it sounds like you got to read the second one. Well, Bill, it's hopefully they got you sorted out with that.
Yeah, the S value is very important, and a lot of machines default to 250 for some reason. You have to change it to 1,000. That's usually what the first thing me and Steve ask somebody when they say, "Hey, my V35 won't cut through sheet of paper." We're like, "What's your S value set to?" But yeah, that S value is very, very important. Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you there. I sure do appreciate you.
So the rumor on Lightburn with CNC software is that they're going to be presenting some of it at the Lightburn experience that's coming up in about 3 weeks. So I would imagine by the end of this month, we're going to know at least a little bit more about what they're looking to offer, or who knows, maybe they'll have kind of a beta version out or something. Because I actually remember when Lightburn was version point something, not 1.0. They kind of released it as more beta software and then developed it. But so yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, I've got my VCarve Pro and I'm really happy with it, but I'd like to see their spin on it. And if it's not terribly expensive, I'll definitely be picking it up and trying it out. So
yeah, I'm kind of curious if they're going to have like a trial with just the CNC part of it for a while. I'm sure they will, but that would be really nice if they'd let you try it out for a little while. That was my biggest hang up with some of the other companies, is you couldn't try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Rob D. Brian, yeah, you're talking about the bamboo cutting boards. I guess somebody timed it and said it was 8 minutes a board. I didn't really pay attention to it, but that I can actually go faster than that with this machine, but just to err on the side of caution, make sure I get a good solid burn. That's kind of where I landed, to make sure that I get a good brown, even burn.
Well, I picked up a pack of those, and I'm looking to test them out. Well, I was going to do them today, but I got tied up in other things. But hopefully, going to test them out with a couple of the. There's a pork farmer and a beef farmer that I've been working with, and they've been asking about different cutting boards and options and thank you gifts that they could offer to some of their good customers. So I'm going to try to meet with some of them this week and say, hey, what do you think about these? Because they're, for something that's not terribly expensive, but can come out fairly nice. That seems like a good option. So,
yeah, I seen Klein was telling me that he had a bit of a lull in some of his, his self produce sales because he does outsourcing for me, but some of his own generated sales he was kind of in a lull. So I told him, I sent him one of my designs that I use and told him, hey, burn this to us one of those bamboo boards, put it on your Facebook page, and it'll generate you some revenue. And he called me the other day and was like, hey, he said, I was just gonna let you know I did what you told me, and I got 4 orders for cutting boards.
Nice.
So people will buy them. You either got to find something that they like as far as ready-made stuff, or just find the right person that's looking for something custom, and they sell. And the profit margin on them is very forgiving, because as you saw, I mean, they're not that expensive. So a little bit of work designing the design and doing the burn, and you're handling them and so forth, you can still make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Shaper Trace arrived. I don't know what that is.
So mine is going to be here, I think, Tuesday. And so the Shaper Trace is, I don't know if you've been following CNCs for a while, Shaper created this kind of handheld CNC router, and you put all this tape down that it looks at with the camera and kind of learns its position. And then it has a small screen on it, and you load the file in, and then it has you follow that line, and it can actually move the bit based on your movements to keep that thing going straight down its path. And if you get too far outside of it, it sucks the bit up so that you don't miscut it, and then you can reset it. So that's been an interesting kind of Jack. It's a very expensive CNC router, handheld router, but interesting. I've seen a couple in action. Now they came out with this tool. It's Shaper Trace, and it's a frame that has kind of the similar pattern around it, and then there's an app you can get tied to it, and then you put that pattern on whatever you want to change from a physical item to a vector item, and it's supposed to create those SVGs for you. So I picked one up off their Kickstarter, and they started shipping this month, and I'll have mine in a couple days, and I'm kind of excited to play around with that, see how functional it is, see how big of an area. So for me, I want to see if I can utilize this with some of my airplane plans, because there's a lot of people who will say, hey, can you create this part for me? I've got the plans. I'm like, well, it's not exactly a just quick and easy process to get printed plans into a vector format that you can cut. If this accelerates that with any sort of accuracy, it'll be well worth the money. It wasn't terribly expensive. I wanted to say like $60 some odd for the software and the frame. So we'll see.
Cool.
Here's an interesting question from Super Duty Jeff. If you're going to buy a new diode in the next 3 to 4 months, what would it be?
Needs to be over 30.
He says, well, I don't know if that's an example or if that's what he's looking for. Needs to be extended to 30 watts plus.
To get over 30, be able to extend it. Right now on the market, to be honest with you, I mean, if you wanted a 20, that opens it up a lot. But for a 30, I mean, you're really only that I'm aware of. There may be some other people that's offered some extensions that I haven't seen yet, but you're kind of limited to, in my opinion, for a big machine like that, you'd be limited to Acer or Atom Stack, because I don't know of anybody else that has over a 30 watt that you can extend right now. Do you?
Well, X
I mean,
tool.
I guess the X tool, if you want to do that,
Yep.
that
You can get the 40
Frankenstein module.
You get the 40 in the X tool rails. IKEA, you can get their 48 watt with the rails, which basically is also Atom Stack. If it's got to be extended and you want 30 watts right now, it's a little limiting, I guess. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, if you were down in the 20s now, you know 20 watts, Income's Niji and some of the other ones. Sculpt Fun, I think they offer a 30 watt module for the S30, don't they?
Yep.
With extensions.
Yeah, I think they technically call it a 33, and it's in there. They've got it in their their ultra line, which comes at that's about 24ish. It's like 600 by 600, so roughly about
Yeah.
24 inches square. But then I think, yeah, you can get that in their regular S30, which then has the extended rails. Um, but
That wouldn't be a bad machine if you could get a 30 watt, if you put a 30-watt module on it, especially. But you know, me personally, it's hard to beat the Acer. I mean, yes, the X tool has the 40-watt module, but by the time you buy a P20 or a Pro Series X tool and then buy the module upgrade kit, and then basically you're disabling a 20-watt machine to create a 40-watt machine. I just don't get into all that. I'd rather just buy a whole nother machine.
well, you wouldn't
So,
have to disable a 20 watt. You could buy, I think right now they got their 5 watt pros really cheap on Amazon for like $350, $350, and then do the 40 watt module and the extension. But yeah, you're paying for it. Um, and you know, some people's 30 watt performs like other people's 20 watt. So,
mm-hmm.
you know, you got to kind of also take into account how well the actual module and their air assist and all that performs. If you remove that 30 watt requirement, but you want to keep the extension, right now, I would say a hard to beat either the Atom Stack or the Niji for just sheer size.
Oh yeah, this Niji 4 Max, it's a 20-watt, but it's got all the bells and whistles. It's simple to operate, and it does a really good job. So, yeah, that Niji 4 Max would be a really big contender for me. If it had 10 more watts of output, I would probably be tempted to put it in this enclosure. But I just can't justify taking a 36-watt out and putting a 22 or whatever 24-watt in there.
Yeah.
Because I do like the Z-axis and everything on that machine. I love that Z-axis, but I can't. I just can't take the 36-watt out. Steve, there's somebody asking you a question about Maverick's gear.
Well, yeah. So Mavericks, they're the well, I guess it's the duo of towns I live in. There are actually 4 colleges within the 2 towns, and then if you extend it out to St. Peter, which is nearby, we've got about 5 colleges. We're a big college town, basically. So you've got the Minnesota State University Mankato is minutes from my house, and they are, short of the University of Minnesota, they're the largest public university in the state of Minnesota. Now I work for South Central College, which is the community technical college, and we're across town, but we're part of the same system. So no, I don't have a lot of Mavericks gear. Probably commenting on the fact that I'm wearing Vikings and Twins gears today. You know, they both playing today. Vikings held their own pretty well against the Chiefs. Twins are hopefully going to knock the Astros off today for the postseason. But I passively watch sports, but no, I don't actually have any Mavericks gear.
Yeah. Brent's wanting to know where the best place to get commercial use STL files is.
Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for things to add to, STL files, okay.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I don't. Is that for 3D printing or is that for 3D CNC?
yeah. So, hmm.
Okay, he's saying here that it's for 3D printing.
Okay. You know, there are a lot of I'd have to look. I haven't done a lot of searching for. I mean, I've looked for STL files for personal use. I haven't looked a lot to flip them around for commercial use. But depending on the market you're in, there are a lot of marketplaces out there that will offer up bundles of STLs, or a subscription plan where you get so many sent to you every month through that, and they tend to be around like a lot of miniatures and such that are used in like tabletop gaming and decorations and such. So that tends to be genre specific. But if you look through a lot of the things on printables or Thingiverse where they're free files, a lot of them will have a clause in there that says you are free to use the items you create from these files in any means necessary. You just cannot resell or reshare the files. And so that's the thing to really look for in that.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I haven't done a lot of looking in as far as commercial rights for STLs. Now SVGs, there's also some really good places for that, and most of them will offer them up. Even like Canva.com and some of those others, you can make things on there that anybody can make, but you're free to resell your creations from it. I mean, you'll see a lot of Etsy sellers that'll say, here's a weekly planner, and all they did was spend 20 minutes in Canva and come up with it, and then they're offering it for $5 a pop to people on Etsy and such.
Yeah. Uh, Rob, if you're wanting a roller, and that's all you want it for is to do rolling, that Diwali roller, for the price that you get it for and what it does, the fact that you can put longer items on it without worrying about it, hitting the frame or hitting other parts of the mechanics. That's a really good roller. Like if you're doing, let's say you're doing like rolling pins or something that's longer than the roller wheels themselves, then that's a really good choice because it doesn't have anything in the way. A lot of the other rollers, you only have like 6 inches of space before it's going to start clunking up against a bearing or clunking up against a belt or something like that. So yeah, the Diwali one is a really good one for, and it works with most any machine that uses the standard stepper plugs. So yeah, I mean, I would have to say for entry level, if you want a roller instead of a chuck, then yes, I still got mine. I don't use it as much because most of the stuff that I do, I use a chuck now. But if I were doing, if I were today to do a rolling pin, I would probably try to get it to work with the chuck. But if it didn't work with a chuck, that would be the rotary or the roller that I would use to do it with.
Now, is
So
that the one that they stick up a little bit so that you don't have anything in the way?
yes, I would
Okay.
climb up.
Yep.
I would climb up there and get it for you. But
No, I was just trying to make sure I was remembering the right one.
yeah, because most of them, the belt runs across there, or either they have the bearing housings that stick up. That one, the highest part of that roller is the actual rollers themselves. I
Yeah.
can pull it. I can pull a
The
picture of it up.
the other one's similar to that. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't have anything like that. I think it's the Atom Stack
Yeah, the
R3.
Atom stack is very similar, but I don't know that it has the same width. I'm wanting to say that I think it wasn't adjustable out to the same width as the Diwali
Right.
when
That
I
one
bought
has
it.
kind of the notches. So yeah, the Diwali can go a little bit wider. The Atom Stack, I think, has a little more height to the rollers before the base, so it might make
Yeah,
up for it that way. But
yeah. This is the Diwali one that I've got right here, and you can see the way the belts are ran. The belts stay below the surface of the rollers. There's nothing on this end to block you. So it's adjustable all the way out to the end here. So I mean it's a really good one for it's for a roller. Like I said, I prefer a chuck for tumblers and such. But if it's a roller job, that's not a bad one to use. It looks like it's went up in price since I bought mine. I think I paid $59 for mine. So you might can shop around and find a better deal.
so
Oh, thanks, Jim.
yeah, thank you, Jim.
What kind of chuck would you need for the longer Ray 5? Pretty much you could use any one that you wanted to, as long as it has the correct connector, which most all of them would have. Uh, my personal favorite, as far as rollers or as far as chucks goes, is either going to be the Atom Stack or the Acer, which I think is the same as the IKEA, are they not?
Yeah.
But the Atom Stack, Acer, IKEA, that chuck is huge, powerful, easy to operate, and built like a tank. And it has everything you could ever want out of a chuck. So, I've had others. I've had a RA2. I've used it, and this the Atom Stack design, Acer design is the way to go for chucks.
Yeah. Um, so Brent, a Creative Commons attribution is basically where you need to state the original author um, and then like the source of where you got the file or whatever, the original stuff that was provided. So a lot of people will put things out for free, but they'll put this Creative Commons on it that says you can use this, but you need to give me credit for the design and show people where you got it from. And then in some cases you need to just say, like I used this, but then I altered, this, that, and the other thing. But so that's basically what the attribution is for using Creative Commons with it.
Yeah, Victor. The way that you're going to plug the chuck in is basically you're going to unplug the stepper motor and plug the chuck in there. So pretty much all of the diodes that I have played with in this shop use the exact same plug for the steppers. Even the 3D printer uses the same plugs for the steppers. So I'm gonna say yes. It would work. The only thing that you're going to have to do is you will have to know the steps per rotation, and you're going to have to set all that up in the software and so forth. The longer Ray 5 does not have limit switches, which is not a problem when you're doing tumblers because you're going to be working from current position anyway. So I wouldn't see any reason why the Atom Stack, Acer, IKEA, Chuck would not be a good fit for it. The only thing that you will have to do is you're going to have to raise your machine up to an appropriate level to be able to do the engrave. And you can do that by setting it on 2x4s or paint cans or whatever. So, Philip, good deal. Steve, didn't you just extend an A30?
Yeah, we did the A30 extension and did a video on it, walked through it, and it's pretty simple. I mean, you pretty much have to tear the whole thing back down and then just swap out the rails. And the funny thing was on that one, the cables were a good length. If anything, they were possibly a bit long, but the belts they sent for replacements were way long. I mean, I think I clipped off the excess, and they were longer than the original ones for the 400 millimeter frame that were left over. So I was like, all right, well, put these in the bin and hang on to them, I guess. But yeah, it's that one was a pretty straightforward upgrade. I put in that video too, where you need to make sure you adjust your $131 value for your y-axis, and that sends it back to the controller to update it. And then you got to also tell the software. So in this case, Lightburn, you go in and edit your device to give it the new size and such. That way, it knows how big it should be for homing and soft limits and all that stuff. So,
yeah. Super Duty. If you're talking about my 36 watt, is the V36 Acer is what I'm running. And Bob, the back is pretty much the same. Waiting on surgery. I'm medicated right now,
so this could be a rabbit hole of a question, but Don's wondering what's the best place to get supplies for laser projects.
This got a lot of variables involved in that.
So, I mean, we touched on it a little bit earlier. Is when I'm out shopping. And, obviously if you go to like a craft store, if you've got a Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joanne Crafts, whatever, or a small mom and pop shop as well, a hobby store and such, obviously they are good places to look for both materials, supplies like paint and glue and finishes, but also things like mirrors and tiles and pre-cut coasters or lanterns and photo frames and things that you can customize. So really I like having certain things local that I can just go out and grab if I need. A real gotcha is if you have a good local source of just sheet goods. So, a lot of people have what they call the big box stores. So your Lowe's and your Home Depots, or here in the Midwest, Menards, things like that. But if you can get into more of a traditional lumber supplier, they might have a larger selection of plywoods that actually will be better. Then you can get into your furniture grade stuff down to some actually better Luan and other things that like Clack has been able to find. So, look around your area to see what there might be for either lumber suppliers or even cabinet makers. They often are bringing in wood, and if you can establish a relationship with them, you can either maybe buy it from them at a slight upcharge or get some of their scraps. And then Also look for sign makers in your area. They often have a lot of supplies like acrylics and other materials that either they have offcuts that they're just paying to throw away, or you might be able to work a deal with them as well. So you know, but starting at your craft stores and at least some sort of lumber stores is a good way to get started.
My chair's messed up. Hang on.
Oh,
Yeah, it's got a like a it's got like a hand screw that holds the little footrest down there, and it apparently slipped on me. So I had to fix that because I like to use that footrest to pull that leg up, get that pressure off that nerve. Yeah, Philip, I'm not familiar with that rotary, but that is or that roller, but that is something that's it's very critical in my book is having the rollers be the highest part of the whole mechanism. And if the Dakota does that, that might be one you want to look at too. Whoever that was that asked that question, I'm not familiar with it, but
well, and for doing long items, it's definitely critical. But I can understand, conversely, when doing cups and whatnot, having one edge that it can rest up on, so it doesn't walk off, can also be useful. So, yeah, it depends on what you're
I
going
would
for. So,
rather I would rather just put something heavy in there in front of it so it could butt up against it like a can of paint or something.
yeah, yeah,
Than you know what I mean.
yep.
So.
So here's another good question: is I was just wondering, when selling design files, which file formats do you provide, and are there any better alternatives to Etsy as a place to start? So I generally will provide two at least, and that's going to be a DXF format and then an SVG format. Those are two very popular, fairly universal formats that most vector graphics applications or cutting software, CAM software, are going to recognize. Depending on what it is, I may also include the Lightburn file, but the problem with that is then sometimes people will trust your settings and not change them, and then they get, that gets a little weird. Plus, if you're going from an X tool to another diode laser, the origin settings will mess that up. So I like something that gets them the files, but still relies on them to do a little bit of the work, that they can't point it back to me. Because Clack will back me up on this. There, you can end up getting a lot of troubleshooting of people that are adamant that your files are messed up, even though
Oh my
there's
God!
reviews
Yes.
of multiple people using them that
Oh
these
yeah.
files are horrible, everything's out of alignment, and you're like, well, no, let's talk this through, let's figure out what's wrong. um,
Yes. Gosh.
so so you want to try to somewhat control those variables that it's not going to get pushed back on you.
Yeah.
But as far as alternatives as Etsy, I if you have an established site that people are going to, or you have a way to drive them there, sure. You can spin up a Shopify site and you'll save a few of the Etsy fees, but there's other things that come with that. I mean, yes, you pay a bit for Etsy's marketing, you pay a bit for their services and such,
Well, if
but
you got to know the secret with Etsy.
it,
You got to opt out of the extra marketing.
well, there's either one way or another, they're going to charge you for their services. You can opt out of
Yes.
some of their extra services, and they recently rolled out a thing where they're going to give you a discount if you direct link and it's clearly you driving that to them. My argument against all that is I've run an e-commerce site that was really my own, and I drove all the market to it. I mean, you end up paying for marketing, you end up paying in SSL certificates, you end up paying in tax integration and reporting. Eh, You know, if you play it right and you price your things right, the cost of Etsy, in my mind, offsets all that, especially when you have something that's a little unique. It doesn't have to be completely unique, but if you're just doing a slight spin on what 50 other people have out there, then it's going to be harder than if it's you and two others kind of offering it. So you know it's easy to rag on Etsy for their fees, but having been on the other side of trying to manage all of that extra and dealing with less integration of things, i I happily pay Etsy's fees for the lack of headache that I get on At most right now, I got to print out labels and stick it in an envelope, stick it in a package, and ship it off. A lot of the back end stuff is done for me, and that took up a lot of my time.
Yeah. Well, I only sell digital. So to me, Etsy is well worth it. I don't have to do anything except answer questions, solve problems, which most of the problems are belts not properly adjusted, timing linkage not properly tightened, or importing a file instead of opening it, or trying to use an SVG in XCS and it resizes everything. That's generally the problems that I have to deal with. But like Steve said, I will have people message me and go, "Hey, this file's garbage. It doesn't work. None of the sizes are correct. It's too small." And I'm like, "Did you not look and notice that 9,000 people had bought that file, and it's still there, and it doesn't have like a ton of bad reviews?" I mean, did you not think to just look and see? Okay, he sold 9,000 and it's got a 5-star rating. It's probably not the file. But anyway, you do spend a lot of time answering questions. But to me, Etsy, like Steve said, by the time because you got to think about it, if you asked a group of 100 people online in any of these laser groups, where do you get files to burn? 90 of them are going to tell you Etsy. That's the first place they're going to go. So you don't have to worry about people not coming to look for files. You don't have to market. You don't have to press it. And if you don't have a big marketing engine of your own, then it's well worth it. Like you said, Steve. I mean, they do take a pretty good little chunk of your process. You got processing fees, listing fees, sales fees, transaction fees. I mean, it is a pretty good little chunk. But like you said, it's kind of with digital files, it's like fire and forget. Once I put that file out there, unless somebody has an issue, I don't have to get involved. I don't have to email them a link. I don't have to, collect taxes because I would hate to even try to manage the sales tax that I would have to take in and send to other states, and that would be a nightmare.
I don't even
Uh,
like having to manage it for my own state.
yeah, I mean, I don't even like doing sales tax locally, let alone having to
Yeah.
do it for other states and stuff. So, I mean, in my opinion, Etsy is the way to go. Low overhead. It's a tested platform. Everybody pretty much trusts Etsy, and it's a go-to for a lot of people. So, I
No,
mean,
I
I
mean,
I think it would be a good one.
once you've built up a customer base, or you have another channel for kind of advertising your wares, it's maybe worth it to look into some of these other third party marketplace sites. Shopify is a very popular one, where it will kind of couple some of that experience, and they'll handle a lot of that back end stuff for you. But you lose kind of the marketing, but you also lose some of those fees associated with the marketing there, and you have a little more control over the look of the site and everything. So, it for me, I do recommend people like look at it as a way at least to start your business, and as it grows, you can then down the road maybe make up that, you know, do you continue to do it there, or do you branch out? And because you can save some money long term as you start doing more volume, um, working on some of these other sites and having a little more control. But you also take on a little more of the work with it. So
Mark, that my wife would probably have. Randy, can you answer this one?
well, it's there.
But
There's
for the, I'm pretty sure if you make a sale, they're going to want their tax.
well, so and that's one of the frustrating things is there are some states where it's so many transactions or a certain dollar amount, and others one transaction.
Hmm.
So like anything, you got to do your research. You got to know what areas you're dealing with and what their laws are, and you got to keep up with them. They change, you know. So as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, um, even with Etsy and shipping physical products, um, there are certain countries now, and I think it's like in Europe, where you
Hmm.
have to have it set up to where like that you as the seller have a plan for disposal of the shipping materials. So you have to have, that set up, not even to mention their VAT taxes and everything else. So it can get a little confusing and frustrating, and even through places like Etsy and Shopify that help you with some of that. you got to be careful that there are some places it's just not going to be worth your time as a small business to offer your wares to people in those countries. Now, digital stuff usually is a little bit easier, and a little more universal, but yeah, it's I hate to ever have like, oh, don't worry about this because of this. Because I just the other day I was sending some lenses up to Canada and there was a little extra warning on it. It's like you need to make sure you write this on the envelope so they don't get double charged, and you might want to look into the municipality's tax laws because you may need to register with them. And I'm like, ugh. So
Yeah. Uh, Brandy's saying, and Brandy's run businesses. Let me make sure I let y'all know. Brandy's ran businesses here in our state for like the past 30 years. That's what she does. And she's saying that she hasn't worked with all the states, but the one that she have want taxes with or without registering. So whether you're registered as a business in their city or state, you've got to pay that tax. And a lot of the places now you have to go to a certain portal to pay your taxes, and you can only pay it with the EFT transactions. And I just don't want to fool with that. That's why I stay behind Etsy, and I keep my price. My thing with mine is I do digital files only, and I keep my prices low enough that if somebody tries to bootleg my stuff to sell it, they're not going to be making crap because I'm barely making anything. You know what I mean? So that's that's to me that's if you were trying to make a lot more money, Etsy might not be the way to go. But like I said, I try to make a little bit of something for my time, and it does add up. But I take volume over profit.
yeah, I think with the digital files on Etsy, that's a kind of a sweet spot right now. You do kind of still need to be a bit unique or have a bit of a following. When you get into physical files or physical items and such, again, if you're not unique about it, yeah, as Hobo was pointing out, they'd show that there's the good and the bad. They're going to
Yeah,
show people like, here's a bunch of related items, and someone goes, oh, well, there's something I like better for the same price or less. So
yeah,
you do run into that, and that's where I when you're working with the World Wide Web and everybody out there, you got to figure out how you're unique, how you stand out. Otherwise, it is a race to the bottom. So
hmm
that's where if you can build a business on local markets, you're going to be a lot happier with your margins, I think.
yeah. Richard, there was one thing, and Steve can back me up. Steve does not have the Genmitsu 4040.
No, I
But
didn't have it.
he has thoroughly looked at the one that I have, and we've discussed it over and over. The big difference that I would have to point out between the Genmitsu 4040 and the Fox Alien and the Two Trees is the Genmitsu uses screws instead of belts. And that's been one of the things that I've kind of been scared of when looking at other CNCs. I do know that the Two Trees, because I was looking at getting that one, it uses the belts. And unless they've changed it, the Fox Alien also uses belts. Uh, and so although the Fox Alien is expandable, and so is the Two Trees, I just don't know. It would depend on what you want. Uh, the they're but as far as in their factory configuration, they're all three about the same size.
Yeah, and I've run both. Balls, well, all three: lead screws, ball screws, and belts. They have their advantages and disadvantages. The belts and the wheels are going to require more maintenance long term. They're going to be a little less rigid. So depending on what you're looking for and doing, it may suffice just fine. But I'll tell you, I ran my open builds Ox CNC constantly for a couple of years, and I was always adjusting. I got some real heavy duty belts that I didn't have to adjust as much, but those wheels, I even upgraded to I think they were polycarbonate wheels. It was constantly having to tweak those and adjust those. Keeping that thing busy 6, 8 hours a day on weekends, and usually 4 or 5 hours an evening on weekdays after I get home from work. Um, you get real busy. Well, hopefully, then you're going to have the money to upgrade if you need to, but it's going to introduce more maintenance for you. So
Yeah, Chris is saying the Fox uses both depending on the model, so they may have an optional, screws or whatever for theirs. But me and Steve discussed it when I was looking at CNCs, and I've looked at some other people's channels and some other folks that are more familiar with CNCs than I am. And the general consensus is when given the choice between belts and screws, go with screws. Now, belts may be great. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I haven't had a belt driven CNC yet, but I do know that I've been running this one pretty heavily. I ran it yesterday a little bit. Did some jobs while I was out here doing some cleaning, and so far I haven't had any problems with it as far as the screws slipping or belts. There's no belt, so it's just the screws have not slipped on this thing. So that is a benefit, and that's actually something that I'm looking at. I had somebody the other day trying to sell me a what's the one? Dang, it's a belt. It's belt driven.
Is that the
It's a
Shapeoko or
common.
something like that you were looking at?
Yeah, I think it's a Shapeco or something. It was already extended, like a extended machine. I only wanted $1,000 for it here locally, but it had belts, and I'm scared of those belts. Uh, on a laser where you have very little weight being pushed around by those belts, they work great. But when you get into CNCs, especially if you're like me and you're a novice with your speed rates and feed rates, if you overestimate how fast it can dig through the material, that bit's going to be pushing back on that belt with a pretty extensive force. And it just seems to me that the screws would be better long term, especially for a novice. Now, if you knew exactly how to set everything, it probably wouldn't be a problem. But for a novice, to me, the belts just seem like it would irritate me and make me not want to use a CNC anymore. So that's just my take on it. Brent, I've not run it necessarily overnight. I have let it run after I went to sleep because I have found 3D printing and CNC work have one thing in common. Neither one of them are exactly fast. So, and Rob, Steve, what do you use? I mean, I know we both have access to a few programs, but for the most part,
So, um, if it's a three-dimensional object, I'll use some form of 3D CAD. And years ago, I started using SketchUp back when it was still a Google product, and so it's easy for me to revert to that. But Fusion 360 is kind of the next step up from that as far as um, being able to model something in 3D and make sure everything looks like it's going to fit right. Make sure you got your tab depths appropriately. For me, I'm just visually that way. I got to see it in 3D, so I'll use that. Otherwise, for vector type graphics where it's just 2D stuff, I do have Creative Suites or Creative Cloud now, so I play around with Illustrator as well. But you could just as easily use GIMP as a free version for that. I haven't used CorelDRAW since ages ago, but that's very much similar to Illustrator and such. Outside of that, no, I try to utilize the tools within Lightburn, or if I'm using stuff for the CNC, it'll be in VCarve.
yeah, like I said, I use primarily Lightburn. I do have Adobe Express that if I'm doing like a logo or something like that, I can use it, download it as a PNG, and then trace it in Lightburn. But most of the time, I stay in Lightburn personally. David's saying he's got the X Carve 1,000 by 1,000 with belts, and he hadn't had any problems. So I mean, like I said, I'm not saying belts are always bad, but I want to stick with screws if I can. Uh, until somebody can send me one over here to try that's got belts where I can see for sure. It's just
So, so one of the benefits to using a machine with belts is it's going your free space movements are going to be faster generally. They can move a
yeah,
lot faster, um, and as long as you keep it well maintained, and by that also if you have good dust extraction, so that material isn't getting on your rails, getting into your belts. Um, they are there's nothing wrong with a belt driven machine, but they do have their limits in their rigidity and such. And
yeah,
just having run multiples of each, Um, they do. I ended up having to do more maintenance and tweaking on them. But yeah, for a hobbyist or even a small business, they're they're a fully capable machine. I just, in my personal experience, have um, had more maintenance issues with them as all. So
Yeah, I looked at the X Carve here recently, and I think the new X Carve Pro that they've come out with has basically they've hidden the belts inside like a housing or a chassis, and it does also have that little vacuum. Uh, Instead of a dust cover, it's got more like a vacuum that it uses with a ring or whatever. And it looks like it would do a good job, but I'm still sticking with screws. I just, yes, it's probably like you said, it's not going to be as fast, but that's where I land. And like I said, that's preference. Just like the difference between the linear rails now and the old roller wheels. I think either one works, but sometimes I think one has advantages over the other. Like you said, ruggedness and ability to push the router through, even if the settings are incorrect. I think screws would be better. Speed, obviously, belts are going to be better. So, and as terrible as I am with picking my feed rates, I need that extra that extra push.
well,
I would be chewing the teeth off the belts at times.
well, yeah, yeah, they may slip at that point, but um, yeah, they're. You can also get yourself into more trouble with ball screws and lead screws because they will continue to just push it through, right? Things mess up, they're going to mess up harder. They're going to
Yeah.
amplify the problems just as much as they're going to minimize some of the other stuff. So it's definitely something if you're looking into CNCs to take a look at, do some pros and cons. There's always a cost. You get ball screws, there's a cost. You also have to now, make sure your backlash stuff is accounted for and that they've got good anti-backlash nuts and such in there that you're not getting a lot of slop directionally that way. So there's definitely pros and cons to it, but you know, it yeah, if you're looking for rigidity and wanting to plow through some material or getting into more metals, you can definitely do metal with a belt driven machine. Um, but it's just a sometimes takes a little bit of the some of the issues away. So
Well, I'm not saying if somebody wanted to send me a belt one to, give me a little insight on it that I wouldn't take it. But like I said, if I went to buy one today, I would buy screws. That's just, and like I said, it personal preference. Well, appreciate you there. I hope it's entertaining or something. Anyway,
it's, that's how I sometimes close out my videos. I hope it was educational or at least entertaining.
yeah. I mean, even if you don't learn anything, maybe you had fun. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think I agree the same thing. I mean, it's
No,
just
now you're just going to start which one's the Ford and the Chevy.
no. I mean, there are certain things. Like I said, every machine in this shop. People ask me all the time, "What's the best laser on the market?" It depends on what you want. I mean, I can honestly say every machine that I've had in this shop that I have tested out did what the company said it would do within reason. Some of them exaggerate thicknesses and speeds sometimes, but the machines worked and they were capable machines. So, I'm not going to knock any one machine. And I think a lot of times people think that just because X tool might be Steve's favorite machine, that's what they need. When in fact they might need something a little different because what they're trying to accomplish is not exactly what Steve's trying to accomplish. So I like for people to decide what they want the machine to do first, and then look at which machines are capable of doing that, and then deciding based on budget and knowledge of the machine, simplicity, ease of operation, that type of thing. So, and I'm trying to get comfortable, guys, but it ain't happening. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very much I know I can just anytime people ask that question and I know what my response is going to be, like you hit it on the nail. It depends. And sometimes people are like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it depends. Just tell me. I'm like, well, I got to know more about what you're looking to do. Um,
Yeah.
and and then in some cases, I'll literally tell them like, you know what, look for the best deal out of these 4 brands, and you can't go wrong because they're just looking to kind of get started and play around with this. I said, stick with these brands. You're probably not gonna have issues. But yeah, it's
Get,
definitely
get, get.
there are some scenarios where
Get,
a
get, get, get.
machine will shine. So
Come here. Get, get. Oh, that's Tiger. She ain't finna come over here. Apparently, we both have cats walking around in the background. I didn't even notice mine. I've noticed yours, but I haven't noticed mine.
I heard mine. He's very black, so he sneaks around.
Well, apparently mine are. Oh, I see them now. There she comes down. She's coming down the ladder. They're like, "Hey, it's cool outside. It's time to go to bed." Come here, Fluffy. Come here. Get. Come here, Fluffy. Come here. Don't act like you can't jump up here. You do it all the time. Come on. She just woke up, I guess.
Well, I know how that feels.
Yeah, I guess she was going up the ladder to the cat house up in the attic up there. But yeah, yeah, I've got 3, but y'all never see Tiger. Tiger is the wildest of the 3 feral cats that I have reclaimed. They were feral when I got them, and now only one of them's kind of like semi-feral. She'll come around me and the family, but she won't come around nobody else.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Questions, comments, concerns. If you hadn't already, Laser Engraver Community. I'll try to drop that up there. Check out the Facebook page. If you're not a member, sign up. We do have a lot of knowledgeable people in there, such as Jack and Chris and Brian and Jeff and all those cool guys. So if you have questions or just want to show off some of your work, it's a good place to do it. And it's on Facebook, of course. So there's our sales pitch for that. I need to just record a video where I can just play it for the sales pitch.
Well, if anyone's watching from my channel and was wondering, I've got it linked down below in the see more or the description or whatever they're calling it these days. So you can definitely jump over there to catch all the fun there. And yeah, it's been growing. We keep getting new people come in. We try to keep it friendly and informational. We allow people to promote things to a point. It's always the give more than you take kind of thing. So we've had a few people come in that just they're the design people, or there was a couple of people that are known scammers from other laser groups that we try to keep an eye on and keep things friendly and safe there. But it's a good place to share or expand on what we were talking in these shows and enjoy it. So,
or go look at some of these guys' work, because there's some pretty cool stuff in there. Some of y'all need to be doing videos showing me how to do stuff. some of these projects are pretty awesome. Oh,
yes, if you apply, like Brian mentioned, if people are joining, please have them look at all the information and answer the questions. That's one of the ways we try to filter out the bots and the other stuff. So,
yes.
All right. Here's an actual question.
Uh-oh.
X-Tool 20 watt newbie. Any tips for possibly engraving steak knife blades? Is the stainless too hard? So, well, it's going to really depend on more of what kind of coating might be on there, whether it's going to engrave easy or not. Stainless generally is going to be a little bit of a slower process than engraving on wood and such. So, and then if there's an extra coating on top of the other stuff, or if it's too reflective, that can also have an effect on how well it shows up without any other additives to it. So, I would say if you can, if you go on Amazon, you can usually find a couple, they have some stainless steel like business cards or anything. Just get some blanks, or even go to your home center and go into the electrical section. They'll have the stainless steel blanks for electrical box covers. Those make really good test grids to at least get you in the ballpark. the thing with stainless steel is it's going to really depend on the type and the thickness, because it's all about the heat and how it's transferring to that blade. And so thinner material is going to heat up faster. It's going to have a different reaction. But if you can get some sort of blank, then run a material test, that'll at least get you in the ballpark of what your machine can do.
You're going to make me do it.
What?
You disappointed me. I thought you would do it. Now I got to be the science guy.
Okay.
Now I got to be the science guy.
Be the science guy.
All right. Well, technically, when it comes to stainless steel with a diode laser, it's technically not engraving it, because engraving implies that you're removing material.
All right.
And
Yes.
with stainless steel and a diode laser, you're technically not engraving because you're not removing any material. It's actually more marking the material, because the intense heat that is generated on that tiny spot causes the metal to go through a bit of a transition to a different color, which results in marking, not engraving. See, I had to get all sciencey, man. That's supposed to be you, Steve.
All right. Well, if you want to get technical about it, you're annealing the material and it's changing colors.
Yeah, but marking is technically so. But yeah, annealing is just a fancy word for heating it up till it changes color.
Well, it's a heat treatment that alters the physical properties of the metal. So, but yeah, no, that's truly what it is. Yep.
Hobo, I gotta say, bro, we're not real particular about it. I will throw stuff in there occasionally, but for the most part, I try to leave that. I try not to advertise as much in that group. But within reasons, hey, if you're answering questions and helping people out, you get a little more leniency on what you can post. Let's put it that way. Steve said, give more than you receive.
Yeah, anytime people are sharing their videos or links to things that are generally helpful versus just I'm trying to sell you something, I'm very cool with that. Even if that help comes with like, hey, here's some information on it, and if you want to buy my files, that's fine with me. But the people that come in and just like drop me your name and I'll design a logo for you that ends up you signing mortgage papers for some condo in a state you'll never visit, those are kind of things that we're trying to filter out. I want people to be successful. I want people to share ideas. I want people to learn from each other, and that means more than just Clack and I. So
oh yeah, yes, all about teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Sure.
That's right. Oh my gosh, this is starting to get unbearable, guys. Gee. Oh. You ever hurt so bad you want to laugh to keep from crying?
Well, so anyway, yeah, the groups out there, like I say, we appreciate people sharing your ideas. If that means sharing your videos and other things, by all means, we'll let you know if it's stepped over the line and such. But Hobo, I follow you and I've watched your stuff, and you generally are out there helping people quite a bit and on the side making a buck. And so I'm pretty cool with that. And that goes for, most everybody else in here that's just trying to, enjoy this as a hobby, a side business, whatever, all that. I think we're pretty good with everybody that's been doing that so far. We've caught the other stuff.
Yeah, we're not too crazy about it. Oh, well, good deal there, North Alabama. North Alabama said he's been watching, but he was driving, couldn't comment. It's a good deal. Keep your hands on the wheel, bro. Because we don't need any big rigs flying off in the ditch, and they call me and Steve, and like we're like part of the reason the wreck happened.
that can be a dangerous thing. I've done the same thing where I've put a live stream on and listened to it, and I'm so like there have been times I'm like, oh, I want to put in a comment, but I can't.
Yeah. ET, I'm not sure which enclosure you're talking about. Measure the outside dimensions and compare it to the inside. I think you're talking about the original enclosure that I built, that I put the plans out for, and I don't recall if I tried the P20 in it or not.
I was gonna say the 8s are the P20 is a little bit bigger, I think, in both
Yeah.
directions than the X tool.
Uh,
So you're gonna need a little wiggle room in there.
yeah, I don't remember what the inside dimensions were on that one. I would have to look, and I just right now I can't right now. But I think the P20. I don't recall. I'm not going to lie to you because I don't remember. I've made so many enclosures that I can't keep track. I mean, these are you see what I'm working with now, and the P20 fits in either one of these as long as it's not extended. But I can't recall what the inside dimensions are. My best advice would be to look at the inside dimensions on those plans and measure the outside dimensions on your laser and just make sure before you build it. Don't build it until you confirm, because I can't recall if that was built specifically for an X tool or if I oversized it. I usually oversize mine, so whatever size I think I need it to be, I'll add 3 or 4 inches to it to give me some playroom, kind of like in this one. Well, why is my camera not working? That's odd.
It's tired. It wants a break.
It's just quit on me. Enclosure. Scenes.
So
Well,
do you technically oversize them or do you overcompensate?
oversized
Okay. Just
to
want to make sure.
to accommodate other machines. Let's see what else. Well, crap! No wonder I have deleted my scene. Well, that's terrible. Hang on, I had to put my scene back on my software over here. Wait a minute, it swapped me over to it. Give me
Hey,
just a
now
second.
that's a nice view.
Give me a second. I gotta add a camera back here. It
I feel like we need
removed
some of that intermission music here.
it removed my. I was playing around in that last video. I had to create some. I had to create a couple of like camera feeds on my software,
Yeah.
and when I got through with that video, I did not go back and appropriately fix everything.
Yeah,
So there we go.
Chris, I mean, generally to a point, yes, you can never go too big because you may want extra space. So yeah, when possible, scale up. I mean, that goes when you're trying to pick out what size machine you need, what size CNC, how big should I build my garage, you know, things all like
Yeah,
that.
add about 20%.
You know, if you can.
Jack, I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm dealing with right now, if you told me I could pass a kidney stone at 8 a.m. and have no pain the rest of the day and not have to deal with what I'm going through right now, I would take the kidney stones. As long as I could pass it at 8 a.m. every morning.
Wait,
and
you're
have
gonna
the
have
rest
to
of the
do it
day.
every day?
Hey, if I could pass a kidney stone in the morning and not have to deal with what I'm feeling right now and what I feel all day for 24 hours, I would pass a kidney stone every single day.
It sounds
I,
like the
I, I
worst
passed one. I passed one
Groundhog
here.
Day movie sequel
I,
ever.
hey, I had a kidney stone last year, so I'm not speaking from someone who does not know what kidney stones feel like. I do know what they feel like. They made me uncontrollably vomit. But it only lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So this is lasting 24 hours a day, and so far has lasted for 2 weeks. And it will bring you to your knees. You will be on the floor in the fetal position. And they're telling me it's like a tiny little something that big pushing against my nerve, but
Man.
it feels like somebody's got a Mack truck pushing against my leg. But yeah, this has gotten it's gotten a little ridiculous. I don't know what in the world the devil is trying to prove, but he's trying to take me out. Oh man. But yeah, kidney stones were horrific, and up until I had this, that was the worst pain I'd ever felt. But I'm gonna have to put kidney stones in second, as far as in an hour, kidney stones hurt worse, but they do go away after an hour or two. So, well, I haven't had one that they had to go in and get, so that might be a different story. If it got stuck, I know coming from around here until it got around to the front on the side of my stomach, that was rough. But once the pain got to about halfway to my belly button, it just went away. And they claim that's when it drops off in your bladder. So, but But this right here had me thinking I was dying the other night. I'm just going to throw it out there. I was praying to pass out and couldn't.
Well,
You ever,
let's hope they have an opening for you before the 23rd, and so you can
yeah,
move on.
well, you ever had like one of those like Charlie horses in the middle of the night,
Oh,
in the middle of your calf muscle?
oh yeah. Had one last week. That was fun.
Yeah, imagine having that, but like it involves everything from your buttocks to the tips of your toes, and it lasts 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's about the closest way I know to describe it.
So I mean, I a few years ago I was dealing with that sciatic pain, but I was able to get relief through stretching and other things, and it went away without, it wasn't getting worse, but I hit a spot where I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I just didn't know how to get comfortable. So, but so
Yeah.
that's the closest I can relate to what you're going through right now. I mean, I can relate to the nerve pain shooting down your leg, but having it be just constant and whatnot, that I can't even fathom. So
Yeah, I don't want to.
yeah,
I
well,
don't want to. If it weren't for those wonderful little capsules about that big, I would not be sitting here right now. And I'm barely sitting here already. You know what I mean?
mm,
I'm taking the maximum dose that I can take without killing myself, according to my doctor and my pharmacist. So I'm taking as much as I can. I cannot take any more than what I am. Now I do stretch it out instead of taking it every 4 hours. Occasionally during the day when I'm moving around a little bit, I'll stretch it out to 5 hours, and I'm okay. Like earlier before the live, I stretched it out to 5 hours. Then I took them. But for the most part, I've been taking them every 4 hours instead of every 8. So yeah, it's rough. It's terrible. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Uh, this is awful. I don't know that there's anything that I've ever experienced that comes remotely close to this. Like I said, kidney stones is rough, but it only lasted for a few hours and it was over. This has lasted for two weeks so far, with no end in sight until I have surgery. Now they're claiming that the moment I wake up from surgery, I'll be better, which just makes me mad because they can't do it tomorrow.
well, I imagine if they're saying it's something pushing on your nerve, once they get that removed, that should provide fairly instant relief. You'll
Yes.
you'll just be out during that time, but yeah. So
Yep. But I've requested a picture of whatever it is that's causing the problem.
it's
The way I can just visualize it. You know what I mean?
sure, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, enough talking about it. I'll try to talk about something other than that because it's like give myself nightmares. But Brandy has felt so bad for me, guys, and she's been great. For the first few days, she had to help me put my shoes on because I couldn't put them on myself. But then I sent my daughter to buy me some Crocs. I've never owned a pair of Crocs. Thought I would never own a pair of Crocs. But guys, when you have to swallow your humility and have your wife put your shoes on for you because you can't bend over far enough to put them on, you'll go buy yourself a set of Crocs. That way you get to keep that little bit of humility every morning when you get dressed.
Well, you might keep your humility, but I mean, the holes in the Crocs are to let your dignity leak out, right?
Well, luckily I don't have snow up here, Steve. If I had snow, I'd have to reevaluate. Now
Well, they make
it has
insulated
dropped
winter
down.
ones.
Oh, do they? Okay, that's good to know. But it does. It has gotten cooler here. I'm actually wearing long pants tonight. So
Well, I don't know if it's in our exact area. Well, it's actually right now it's 49 degrees out, but for about 40 miles to the east of us, where I fly my model airplanes, there's actually frost warnings for tonight.
oh
So, on one hand, I'm kind of like, oh well, here it is, winter's knocking on the door. On the other hand, I'm like, good, kill all the bugs.
yeah, Brian, I'm hoping to get back in my regular boots soon after this surgery. That's what I'm hoping for. But I'm gonna be honest with you, these Crocs are kind of growing on me. I've been wearing them for 3 or 4 days, and they're kind of
Oh
growing on
well,
me.
you should wash them a few times.
Well, these are like rubber. I took a shower in them. What are you talking about?
Well, you said they're growing on you. You've
Yeah,
been wearing them for days.
yeah. But yeah, you can take showers in them. That's what's really cool. They're like prison slides.
Uh, what a way to end the show talking about Crocs.
Yeah. Hey, hey, Super Duty. If I can't like tie laces, don't think I won't consider it. That's liable to be my next purchase. Yeah, I'm not sure what the temperature is outside. Brandy told me it was
Yeah.
supposed to be in the 40s.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a cold streak down here or up here, I should say. That's dropped down. And I mean, it is October. It's not unheard of to snow in Minnesota in October. This goes back to my childhood, but everybody talks about the Halloween blizzard. That was horrible, but yeah, I don't know. That's just going to flip around from me complaining about how warm it is in my shop to how cold it is out there. So um, we'll see. But I do like this period when they get those bugs killed from the first freeze and it's still warm enough to enjoy being outside and maybe a long sleeve shirt or a flannel or a hoodie or something. So
Yeah. Yup. But yeah, it's definitely it's definitely. I told yeah right. Wait a minute. Hang on. Oh my goodness.
what am I gonna do when you get fixed up and I can no longer call you an old man?
Oh, hey, I see. I, I'll be happy. I don't care what I don't care what you have to do. I just want to get fixed up. It's been rough, man. I told my daughter, I was like, I kind of feel like I need a walking stick. Well, coincidentally, back in 2020, when I first started doing woodworking, before I bought a laser or a CNC or a lathe or anything, I had made a cedar walking stick, which is pretty awesome, might I add. And I had stamped using leather stamps in the top of it, my initials and the year I built it. And I forgot she even had the thing. But when I made it for like hiking, for going out walking where you can like fend dogs off of you or whatever. And she taught me to letting her have it because she thought it was cool. Well, the other day I'm in there using a broom handle to try to get around in the house to keep from falling because I can't put no weight on that right leg at times. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got a walking stick. I've been really using a really cool walking stick that I made 3 years ago, and never had any idea I would ever actually use it. But it is being used for a walking stick for a different purpose other than hiking. So that was fortunate for me. Oh, it just needs a rubber stopper on the end of it because I put a metal one on it for outside, so I had to put like a little felt thing on it to keep from scratching the floors. Because I had made it for actual like hiking up a mountain and stuff. But anyway,
Mountains, the mountains of Alabama.
Tennessee.
Yeah, those are hills.
Next time you're down here, I'm gonna take you up there and let you run up one of those hills.
Oh, I didn't say that. No, no. Okay, at least it's plausible. I mean, you get out to Rocky Mountain country, and it's not running up some of those. I was
Yeah,
up in we took a trip down to see my dad in Arizona in 2019, and we stopped in Denver, went to Rocky Mountain National Park, and there's a loop that takes you up along, and you get above the tree line and such. And there was just a simple trail that we thought we could hike up, and I took two boys with me because one of them was not feeling that great, and we got about I don't know third mile up there, and we're like, "Yep, this is not happening."
yeah. We took her. I think it was my oldest daughter to Cleveland's Dome, which is it's about a mile hike, I think, up the mountain. Yeah, I wound up having to carry her to the top. I think that may be what happened to my back years ago. But yeah, don't take kids to mountains because you have to tote them. But yeah.
I'm glad mine are all old enough to pedal
They can,
themselves now, but
hey, well, now they can't carry you because they'll have to carry you up the hill. You done got old. Uh,
hey, this yeah, we're talking like yeah, altitude oxygen deprivation in Denver. That was my issue there. I was getting lightheaded just breathing.
yeah, I would have a hard time with that because I'm only like 500 feet above sea level here.
Yeah, we're
So
like 1,000.
I'd have to have like a scuba tank on.
Yeah, we're at 1,000 feet here, so it's
Yeah. Somebody asked me, where did that comment go? You done throw it away.
oh sorry.
I don't see it now. Where'd it go?
The sawmill.
Yeah.
He's got a question. He's wondering.
Oh,
Stop clicking on it.
nope, nope.
Stop clicking on it. There you go.
Well, there are things to consider when one considers a sawmill. First of all, the biggest obstacle that you have to be concerned with a sawmill is how in the heck you're going to get the logs on the sawmill.
I thought it was the financing and the wife.
Oh no, that's that's the easy part. The hard part is a lot of people will go get a sawmill thinking that it's fun and they want to do it, and that's great. But just know that logs do not roll themselves onto a sawmill. So you're going to have to figure out how exactly you're going to do that if you don't have a tractor with forks or a grapple or whatever on it. There are ways that you can do it using a winch, electric winch, using pulley systems and stuff like that. There's a lot of good videos out there that show it. I actually got lucky. I had a small tractor when I got mine, and that did limit the size of the log that I could move because my tractor wasn't that big. But if log handling is your biggest concern, is how you're going to move those things. If you don't have a tractor and you're going to have to do it manually, then you're going to want to make sure you keep that thing close to the ground. Use some type of ramp / pulley cable winch system to be able to get those things up on that mill. Even if you've only got like a 4-wheeler with a 3,500-pound winch on it, that would be better than nothing, because you could engineer yourself a way to roll those logs with that 4-wheeler, and then once you got them up there, you can winch them up on top of it. But that's log handling is concern number one, and of course, financing it. If you've got the money to be looking at a sawmill, Wood Miser, Woodland Mills. There's a bunch of different brands that make a entry level sawmill for $4,000 to $5,000. It will do a good job, but they're all going to be very labor intensive. There's no automation as far as log turning or log clamping or anything like that. There's no offloading them. It's strong back. That's what you need, and I think that may be what's wrong with my back. But yeah, it's Wood Miser, Woodland Mills, and I forgot the other one. The three big
Norwoods, or is it Norwood?
Yeah, Norwood.
Norwood, yeah.
Yeah, the three. Those are the three main ones that I would recommend, mostly because they have an established reputation. They have parts and support. I can say Wood Miser's parts and support is pretty good. I've had to call and order some parts and stuff for mine, and like they would 2 days ship it to me. So it's, those are things to consider. Now, Wood Miser's not the cheapest. I have like Wood Miser sawmill, but I have a Woodland Mills tooth setter, and I have a Wood Miser sharpener. And it's not because I'm brand specific. It's because I like the Woodland Mills setter better than I did the Wood Miser one. But do your research. That way you know what you're getting into. There was a guy here locally in town that bought a sawmill just like mine. He kept it for like 2 or 3 months, and you could tell when you go by there that he wasn't going to be doing it very long because he had no way of handling the logs. And next thing you know, it's on Marketplace for sale. So,
see, I just make it a habit to have lots of friends that have sawmills.
Yeah. Now, I will say the Harbor Freight sawmill, I got a buddy that bought one of those. And now he made his own rail system for it because the rails that came with the Harbor Freight one were really flimsy. But he used it for a while and did a good job for him. But now he spent probably as much building the rail system on it as he would have if he just broke down and bought a Wood Miser. Because I think what his deal was, he already had the metal to make the rail system with, so he didn't have to buy that. But it's just, like I said, there's a lot of things to consider. And that Alaska's chainsaw mill will work you to death too, by the way, Jack. There's a lot goes into that. Do your homework.
It's a way to start, though.
It is, but my God, I tried that. You want to talk about a chainsaw whooping you? Because you got to have the right blade, you got to have the right size motor, the right size. It's a lot to it.
Just a way to get your cardio and your strength training in at the same time.
Now, that you will.
So.
Anyway, guys, it's been 2 hours and I am starting to hurt. I got to go put an ice pack on my back because it is killing me and I can't get comfortable. So enjoyed it. And hopefully, if Lord willing and I'm still able, we'll be able to do it again next Sunday. So,
Yeah, well, it was great seeing everybody here. It was great talking with you. Hopefully, like I said, you get that date bumped up, and you won't get you some relief. Get you back out in the shop. I'll be hustling it here this week. Like I say, anybody that's in the Minnesota area wants to go to the Twin Cities on Saturday, there's the just look up the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild Woodworking Expo 2023, or check some of my social feeds. I got the information on that. I'll be there doing some laser demonstrations, meeting people and hanging out. And there's a lot of other vendors and suppliers and such. So that's going to be kind of consuming my week, but I'm going to continue to try to get some content out there. Otherwise, we will hopefully see you back next week if Clack's feeling up to it and such. And yeah, well, I'll hopefully have a recap of how that went. So
yeah, like I said, I may try to put out a video this week designing those little doors for Brandy. If you were in here and saw that, but that's going to depend on how I feel and whether or not I get to stay out here and do the whole process, or whether I'm having to piecemeal it together. But anyway, in the meantime, guys, hit the little like button down there and the subscribe also if you haven't already. But see ya.
see you, everyone.